For those of you that are listening by way of the internet, and those of you that are here that may not totally understand what I'm saying this morning, I'll make a full disclaimer this morning. I do not need your money. God does not need your money. The church does not need your money. And so this is not a I want your money sermon. This is not I'm going to sweat on a Kleenex and sell it to you for $20. I'm not going to send you a brick that you can put in the sidewalk or any of that other kind of stuff. I'm going to try to teach a biblical principle this morning that will lift you up higher than you could ever imagine to be. The title of the sermon this morning, for those of you who take notes, is Open the Windows, Shake It Up, Press It Down, and Watch It Run Over. You will hear all kinds of things about how the church only ever preaches on money and all that kind of stuff. I've been here for almost 30 years and I've never preached on money. I've never preached on tithing. I've just used my life as an example. That's kind of what I want to do today. But I'm going to give you the verses in the Bible that will give you the promises of God when you give. When you give according to God's plan for your life and my life. The Old Testament tithe was created way back in Abraham's day. The tithe, as the Old Testament teaches, there was a 10% tithe to the storehouse. There was also a 10% tithe to the Levite priestly order, and then there was a 10% offering. So the Old Testament tithe was about 30%. In the New Testament, God teaches that we give according to as how we've been blessed. He put as much emphasis on the lady who gave all that she had, more so than the folks who were casting in out of their wealth. I want to assure you this morning, God's not interested in the amount you give. God's more interested in the heart that's behind the gift. I will tell you this morning from living experience and proof that God blesses those who give. In Colston's prayer this morning, he said, bless the giver. God doesn't need our money. There's a story of a really rich guy who died, and he had been praying to God that he would allow him to bring just some of his possessions to heaven with him. You know, as we know, you can't take anything with you. There's no U-Hauls behind the hearses that I've ever seen. But anyway, God said, "Yep, you can bring some of your wealth to heaven with you." And so the guy packed up a suitcase of his finest, purest gold, and he got to heaven. St. Peter was there, and well, what's all this? And he said, "Well, God told me I could bring it." And the angels are standing there looking at the suitcase and just in kind of a query, wondering what in the world he could bring to heaven. And so when he opened up the suitcase, all of that gold was there, and the angel said, "Oh, it's road patch." And so that tells you what God thinks of our amount of money. God is far more interested in our heart and our blessings. As the title of the message is, open the windows, shake it up, press it down, and watch it run over. I was going to bring an object lesson this morning, but I didn't bring my wallet apparently. Good thing I didn't go over there and try to buy anything from the grocery store. But as you know, when you buy a box of cereal, how many of you bought a box of cereal any time in the last year? Yeah. All right, most all of you. Okay. So you take a box of cereal, and if you pull the bag out and you look at the bag, it's only about 3/4 full. So you take that gift. Now get it in your mind. See if you can get this picture. If you need to close your eyes so you can use your imagination, go ahead. Just don't snore while you do it. You take that bag and you empty the contents into the box. And you got maybe a half a box. So you get another box and you open up the bag and you pour that in the box. And so God says in His Word that if you give, He'll give back. So you take that second box and you pour it in there. And you probably end up with a full box. But God takes it a step further. He gets the third box and He pours it in there as well. And it begins to run over all over the place. There's an Old Testament verse in Ecclesiastes 11, verse number 1. It says, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days." And this goes back to an Old Testament custom of taking your corn seeds, and when the Nile River was in its flood stage, it would take it and they would throw it out into the edge of the river and just watch it. They would watch it disappear. It was just like throwing it away, casting it into the water. And casting it, well, during the dry season, the flood waters receded from the Nile, that corn seeds would sink down into the mud and it would grow a harvest. They had to cast it out by faith, but they watched it grow later. That's the same principle with God. That's the same thing that we teach about tithing and giving the offerings and giving the missions and doing the handouts that we do. As a church, we have handed out multitudes of motel rooms, food baskets, gas for cars, all kinds of stuff. Me personally, I bought motel rooms and food and all that kind of stuff. You've helped out different people who probably didn't deserve it, who probably didn't use it wisely. But that's not our concern. God tells us to give. We've given to people who don't appreciate it. We've helped people who don't appreciate it. But the reason we do it is because God shows us and gives us, because God gave, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. God gave His Son to die, to go through all of that persecution and tribulation for people who don't deserve it. Me and you. For people who don't appreciate it. Those who won't accept it for their own. And so the principle of giving is not so that church has money and these people get on TV and these televangelists get on TV and they aggravate the stew out of me. They talk about how, God is so gracious and prosperity preaching and all of that kind of stuff. But we really need your offering to stay on this channel. We really need you to give to this ministry. So if God's that great a giver in your ministry, then why are you always begging for money? Why is half of your program begging for money? That's why in 30 years I've never preached on tithing or giving to the church or anything. I talk about giving to missions. I talk about you being blessed. I talk about all that kind of stuff. But in Malachi it says, cast your bread out on the water and you'll find it after not many days. One of the things I thought about this morning, if you want to see something, do something. How many of you planted a garden this past year? How many of you had to wait for the seeds? How many of you, like I did, don't give up on the seed? How many of you had to wait for Waylon planted tomato plants? This year they're not doing very well. He got a few. Last year he got an abundance. He supplied the whole church with tomatoes for the whole summer. Candace raises chickens. She raises them as pets. She loves them. They walk around with them in their arms and riding on their shoulders. But as a result of that, they give her eggs. And she supplied the whole church with fresh eggs this past year. I went over and did some tilling work for him and some garden work for him with the tractor and stuff. She said, what do I owe you? I said, keep me an eggs this summer. And I have an abundance of eggs all summer. And so I haven't had to buy an egg all summer. Well, I guess summer's over now. I got to start buying them again. I guess the first day of fall was sometime last week, so now I got to start buying eggs again now, so whatever. But anyway, I just want to help you this morning if I can. See, God is our source. Money is just a resource. God gives us everything we have. God, everything I have, anything I have at the house, a tractor, a car, or a gun, or whatever, anything I have, God has loaned it to me to be the caretaker of it. Ty works out at the Origin collection plant, and his job is to take care of those bulls, to take care of the bulls that are employed by Origin. They bring in these multi-million-dollar animals, and Ty's job is to take care of them. Ty's job is to make sure that they stay healthy enough to produce what they're out there to produce. Because without them producing, he don't have a job. And if he doesn't do his job, see, Origin supplies the bulls, Ty supplies the food, but God has supplied the stuff that they're producing. And so, anyway, we get it backwards sometimes. God gives us stuff to take care of. God gives us our money as a resource. So a lot of people, way too many people, depend on their money instead of depending on God. Well, I got to stock up this savings account, or I got to stock up this 401k, or I got to have these emergency funds, or well, what if something goes wrong? Well, what if God falls out of heaven tomorrow and He's not going to supply your needs? I've had discussions with some of you sitting here about worrying about tomorrow when tomorrow ain't even here yet. Anyhow. Where was I going? I got these things numbered here this morning, so let me follow through on here. Number 2, 2 Corinthians 9, verses 6 through 8. But I say this, but this I say. He that soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly. Takes me back to when I was planting my garden this past spring, and Rose was actually helping me this year. And my dad taught me, and God only knows where it came from, but you punch the hole in the ground and you put 3 seeds in there. No more, no less. You put 3 seeds in there. Well, Rose was going to help me this year, and apparently if 3's good, 4's got to be better. So sometimes it'd be handfuls of seeds in each hill, especially when she got toward the end of the row. But this year, we had pea plants that were only like 2 inches apart. And people don't grow peas in Montana, but we did. We grew purple hull peas here in Montana. We had 3 rows. They had a bad start and everything, but we got like 5 or 6 pickings off of our peas this year because of her sowing generously. When I planted the tomato plants this past year, I planted sometimes 2 or 3 plants in the same hill. We had an abundance of tomato plants. They had thousands of blooms on them, and then the frost got them before the tomatoes got here. But anyway, he says, he sows sparingly shall reap sparingly, but he that soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. For every man according as he has purposed in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of a necessity, because God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace and abound toward you, that ye, having all sufficiency in all things, may abound in every good work. God says, I don't care whether you give or not. I don't want your money. God says, I don't want your money if you're going to grudgingly give it. If you're going to sit there, I got to give my offering because my wife makes me, or my husband makes me, I got to give my offering. Or that preacher, all he ever does is keep your flipping money. God don't want it. But I'll tell you what, you won't be blessed either. You'll have just enough. People ask all the time, why do people live paycheck to paycheck? Because people are stingy. God loves a cheerful giver. And he says there that you will always in all sufficiency may abound in every good work. Maybe you won't see it in your hand, but maybe you'll get better gas mileage. Maybe your child won't get sick when he would have gotten sick. Maybe you'll go to Costco and you'll find a reduced meat. Not Costco. Costco don't reduce their meat. Sam's. You go to Sam's and find a reduced meat. That's the only. I always look for the yellow tags. I don't even look at the regular tags. I look for yellow tags. It's just, that meat's just as good. I get so frustrated with people who, it's expired, throw it away. Throw it to me. I don't care what date it's got on it. Throw it to me. If you want to throw something away just because it's expired, you bring it to me. The kids told me the other day that Papa goes out and looks for the green cheese, because then he takes it home and shaves all the outsides off of it. How do you think they make cheese anyway? It's molded. If you're going to throw something away because it's out of date, you bring it to the house. I'll take every piece you got. If the can's swelled up, I'll throw it in the dumpster. But if it ain't, that boy gonna eat it. But God says, if you want just a little bit, give a little bit. But if you want a lot, give a lot. Now, granted, you may give some that's not appreciated. You may give some that's not used wisely. But that ain't your deal. That's not your concern. There's no telling how many. I'll tell you what I did one day. I had a family drive up in the parking lot. They were in this van. They were just talking about how bad they had it. And mama got diabetes and kids are hungry and all kinds of stuff. I said, okay, go over here to the Western Motel. I'll rent you a room and I'll bring you some food after a while. So I went over to Kentucky. That was when we had a Kentucky Fried Chicken in here before everybody got food poisoning. But we had, we go over there Sunday night, man. We get a bucket of chicken for $10. I mean, it was just good stuff. But they didn't always clean their equipment like they should have. But I bought them a big old basket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I went over there to the house, or to the motel room, and knocked on the door and opened the door, and it smelled like a marijuana dispensary. That's the word I'm looking for. You open the door, and the smoke cloud. I got high off just the smoke. I stuck a bucket of chicken in there and said, y'all have a good time. If they can buy dope, they don't need chicken. It's like people, getting welfare and food stamps and everything else and buying cigarettes for $9 a pack. I ain't got no time for that. You can afford to buy cigarettes and cell phones. You don't need my money. But anyway, that's beside the point too. But you want to give sparingly? Do you really want God's least for you? See, we want the best for nothing. We want God to just pour out on us, but we don't want to pour out on Him. And I'm not talking about just money either. I'm talking about your time. Church services. I look around this auditorium this morning, we got folks that are missing this morning, but they want God's best. We got folks that are laying home or shopping or doing whatever, but they want God to bless them. They pray, God give me, God give me, God give me, God give me. And God says, well, what are you going to give me? Yep. Number 3, where's number 3? There it is. Honor the Lord. Proverbs chapter 3, verse number 9 and 10. Honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruits of your increase. See, a lot of us give what's left over at the end of the month. We write out all of our bills. We pay Northwestern, and we pay Montana, Dakota, and we pay Hardin City Water, and we pay and then whatever we got left, okay, we'll give a little bit out of what we got left. No, that's not what God said. God said, you trust me first. Yeah. God said, if you're going to trust me, you don't trust me with what's left over. You trust me with what you get, and then you trust God for the rest of it. As I said earlier, I don't want your money. I don't need your money. I'm not praying for your money. Last 2 times, church tried to give me more money. I said, no, keep it, put it in the missions program. Count it as my tithe, however you want to do it. But it's just, I don't want this to be a sermon about money. I want this to be a sermon about your blessings in your life. I don't want this to be a sermon about you giving. Because that's not what it's all about. That's not the purpose of this message. And I know it'll be misunderstood. And I know going out over the internet, we'll have somebody sitting out there saying, oh, that preacher ever just talks about his money. No, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about what you could have if you give to God. He says, honor the Lord with your substance and with your first fruits of your increase. Sow your barns, not God's barns. Sow your barns. My barns is full of barns. But so that your barns will be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. Now, none of y'all are winemakers. I come from a winemaking family, and we always had plenty of wine, but we stopped doing that when we got saved. Anyway, but he says, so that you can have everything you need, so that God will take care of your needs, so that God will bless you, so that you will have enough. When I learned to give, I used to be, well, I don't guess I've ever been selfish. Waylon was selfish. He would buy, we would buy in the household family, buy some pops or whatever, and put them in the refrigerator. Waylon would buy some pops and stuff, and he had them in his closet. But then he would drink all of ours. Very smart, Waylon. Now his closet was full, but it was full of ill-gotten gains. But now that he started following God, and now that he has started trusting God for everything he has, now he brings his overflow to church, and he brings it in bags, and he says, here it is. Candace brings her eggs in and says, I don't care if you pay me or not. And Pastor says, no, you're going to pay the girl. She got chicken food to buy. And that stuff's expensive, because I bought a bag the other day to feed them stupid birds with. But it's Rose likes to watch the birds, so we bought bird food. But it's when you learn to give. I was in the dollar store yesterday, and there was a little girl standing in front of me, and she was buying something. I told her, you go ahead, you got just a little bit. And the guy was telling her how much it was. I said, well, shoot, she's just right there. I said, go ahead and add mine to hers. And she kind of looked like, oh my God. I said, but if she ain't got it, just put hers on mine and I'll take care of it. Whichever works. It doesn't matter. It's just money. They print more every single day. I told God, if you keep giving to me, I'll keep giving it away. I don't have a retirement program. I don't have 401ks. I got a little bit in my dresser drawer stashed up in there, so Rose won't know where it's at. But she knows now. Oh well. But I don't depend on the government and all of this kind of stuff to sustain me. I depend on God. Now, if the government wants to give me some money, I'll take it. I file for my property tax rebate. I file my taxes every year and hope for a refund. I ain't never getting one, but I file them anyway. Maybe one day I'll get one. But I'll take everything you want to give me. Y'all want to donate to the church? Fine. I was telling somebody the other day, I wish somebody would give us $1 million to build a new church. But you ain't got to. If you got it and you want to give it to us, we'll take it. Address is 92 Cottonwood Road. I'll take every dime, but I'm not saying this because I want or need your money. I'm not saying this because the church wants or needs your money. But what we do need is God's blessings on our lives. And that's the result of us giving. Remember the sermon? Open the windows. Shake it up. Press it down. Watch it run over. My mind, and I know my church has heard it before, but my mom and dad, when we used to go and pick vegetables at these picket farms, we go spend 6-7 hours on Saturday morning picking vegetables, snap beans or lima beans or whatever. And Mama would be up at the car. I don't know how she got out of the picking, but anyway, she'd be up at the car, and we'd bring our baskets up there to the car. And they'd be full, and we'd bring our baskets up to the car, and she'd take them and she'd bump them on the ground about 3 or 4 times, and she'd shake them around a little bit, and then she said, go back and fill it up. Well, it was full, but you got a whole lot of it, woman. And we'd have to go back and fill it up. And then, how we are, we fill it up to the lid. And we bring it back up there, and she'd shake it a little bit more, she'd bang it a little bit more, and she said, now go fill it up. Yeah, it was crazy. Our Saturdays were taken up by picking, and then going home and shelling. Because Daddy was too cheap to spend $1 to get the sheller to shell them for us. We had to go and spend 10 hours of our Saturday shelling beans. But you know what we got to do? We got to eat all winter off of that stuff. And so, but the thing about it is she would shake it, and then she'd press it down, and then it would run over. And that's God's principle. God says, well, let me see, I'll get there in a bit. Where are we at? We're on number 4 here? Yeah, there it is. We're there already. How about it? In Malachi chapter 3, verse number 10, it says, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. But before that, I didn't write that verse down, but it says, wherein have we robbed God? And God says you robbed him in the tithes and offerings. See, when you don't tithe like God has told you to, you steal from God. Now, you steal from me and you might get away with it. You go out to my house when I'm not home, and you take something that don't belong to you, and you steal it, you can get away with it, and I may never know it. But God knows it. And so he says, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. I was working down at the primary school, and then we had a guy come in one day, and he was begging for money, needed gas money or whatever. And my principal down there, he said, why don't they go to the churches? I said, where do you think the churches get their money? You think all the churches are, we got money trees planted out in our foyer or something? Anytime somebody comes in with a need, we just go over to our tree and pick some? No, it's by the people who are giving, people who are tithing. We love to help out people. We helped out Melvin's sister and her baby the other day. We've helped out missionaries. How are we going to help out anybody if nobody gives? Most of the gifts that I get gifts from different churches around and stuff, and most of what I give away in some form or fashion. I either give it to the church. Oh, that's another praise too. I forgot. That building, the offering plate down there, it's about half what it could have been. We got our stuff from down here at the True Value, do it wrong, do it best, whatever you want to call it. But we got a whole bunch of paint, we got a whole bunch of brushes, we got a whole bunch of rollers and all kinds of stuff. And I thought it was going to be at least $1,000, and it came up like $700. Because I asked Randy, I said, when you go to figuring up all them bills, I said, remember who I am. And he must have. He took off quite a bit off of it. I appreciate it. Now, the water bill's $500 and some bucks, but anyway. But the grass looks good. I think we're going to take that last half acre back there and we're going to plant some hemp. Yeah, don't mow that. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. Now the part after that is the part I like. He says, and prove me now. God ain't in the habit of testing, but this time he says, test me. Test me. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven. Remember, God paves the streets with gold. See, money don't mean squat to God. But he's going to open, because he knows it means squat to us. Yeah. And he's going to open up the windows of heaven. Now, I don't know how many windows heaven's got. I ain't been there yet. And I'm not talking to anybody who has. Except some of these lying preachers who get on the internet. Yeah, Lord. But I went to heaven and I talked to Abraham. You ain't talking to no Abraham or Moses or nobody else. If you'd have made it to heaven, you'd have stayed there. You know, it's bull crap about you been to heaven and come back home. No, you ain't no such a thing. You might have got a vision, but you ain't gone to no heaven. Because once you in, you in. But he says, I'm going to open you up a window of heaven. And he didn't say he was just going to peep out through that window to see how you're doing. What he said is, I'm going to pour it out. Pour it, not just dribble it, not just take a little hypodermic and squirt you a little bit, but I'm going to pour you out a blessing that what? There don't be enough room for you to receive. I've told God for 30 years now, I'm taking in everything you give me, God. I ain't run over yet. You just keep on pouring. And he has. I got more stuff. I got stuff that I don't even know where my stuff is at. I had to buy another shed because I ain't got no room to put the stuff that he's given me already. See, I don't run over. I just get another shed and put it in. But God is so gracious when we learn to give out of a cheerful heart. When we learn to give out of a loving heart. And he says that I'm going to pour you out a blessing that there will not be enough room to receive it. Watch out the next part now. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sins. Who's the devourer? The devil. The devil wants to take. Remember the sermon sometime in the last week or two? I don't remember when I preached it. But the reason we have it tough sometimes is because God gives you, and the devil wants to take everything that God has given you. Everything that God gives you, good health, a good marriage, a good child, good relationship at work, every single thing that you have that God has given you, the devil wants to take it away. That's why it's such a struggle for God's people. That's why it's so hard. That's why we're going to suffer tribulation. That's why we're going to suffer trial. It's because the devil don't like you. And I know some of you that like to be a people pleaser, that just hurts your feelings big time. Because you even want to please everybody, including the devil. But if you get on the good side of the devil, guess who's on the bad side? You're on God's bad side if you get on the good side. There's a reason some folks, the devil don't bother them because they go in the same direction. He ain't gonna bother you if you go in the same way. But if you start serving God, and I will rebuke the devourer from Satan, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before time in the field, saith the Lord. God's gonna bless your stuff. And I know some of y'all don't believe that, and that's okay. It's your loss. You can struggle along all you want to. But if you want to be blessed by God, I will guarantee you, 100% money back guarantee, that when you start, it's going to be rough. The devil will do everything he can to cause you to say God's a liar. It ain't a good thing. God hasn't blessed me. But you give it time. You stay faithful. You give it time. And you give when you ain't got it to give. A lot of times I've given the last dime I had to somebody. And God has always. There have been so many times in this church that I have given to somebody, and before the week is over, God has already repaid it in full, and sometimes more. Where am I at? That was number 4. Yep, there we go. Number 5 is Philippians chapter 4, verse number 17 through 19. It says, not because I desire a gift. That was my disclaimer at the beginning. I don't need your money if you don't want to give it. The church don't need your money if you don't want to give it. Do we have needs? Sure. Do I personally have needs? Sure. But if you don't want to give it, you keep your stinking money. Let it rot in your pocket for all I care. Because God is my source, not you or your money. Now, if you want to give it and be blessed, go for it. I'll take every dime you want to give me and then some. I'll take your dime and the mule you rode in on's dime. That was a good one. But he says, not because I desire a gift, but I desire fruit that may abound to your account. The reason I want you to learn to give is because I want to see you blessed. I want to see every single person in here that wants to drive up in a brand new Ford 350 Platinum with Krager tires. Do they even make Kragers anymore? And Thrush mufflers. If you own a Volkswagen, I want to see you drive up in a first-class Beetle Bug Volkswagen. If that's the desire, I want to see you blessed. I don't care if we never get out of this old jail building. God has blessed us tremendously in this old jail building. But if somebody wants to give us a few $1 million to build a new church building, I'll do it. But I don't want it if you don't give it cheerfully. And Paul is saying here, he says, I want you to give, but not because I need or want your gift, but I want you to be blessed. When you learn how to give, when I learn how to give, there's no greater feeling in the world than to give something out and to see it given back to you. Courtney, I mean, she's a stay-at-home mom, and so they have to balance the budget and all this kind of stuff. But she makes these stupid little phone calls and get $100 gift certificates to this, and $100 gift certificates to that, because they give. They give. I've seen her give out clothes. I've seen her give out shoes. I've seen her give out things to people on the street. She's learned to give. She used to be extremely selfish, but she's learned to give. And it's no greater feeling because God will pour out on you. What don't we understand about God pouring out? You remember when He poured out the rain in the Old Testament and flooded the whole flipping earth? Yeah. God will pour out blessings in your life. Maybe He ain't going to add to your bank account, but maybe He'll add to your chicken herd. Tanner says, please no, Tanner. But maybe your child won't get sick when he could have gotten sick. Maybe you'll get better gas mileage in your car. Maybe it'll run for 300,000 miles instead of just 200,000. Yeah. I'm not saying that God will fill up your pocket with money, but what I am saying is you'll be blessed. Because God promises, not because Pastor Randy promises, not because these televangelists get on the junk TV and say, if you'll send me a Bible, I ain't interested in that kind of junk. That's just a bunch of hooey. Not because I desire a gift, but because I desire fruit may abound to your account. Because above all, I have learned, because I have all and abound and I'm full, having received your Epaphroditus, the things which were sent from you, an odor of sweet smelling sacrifice, acceptable, well-pleasing to God. But my God shall supply all of your needs. My God. Not First Interstate Bank. Not Bidenomics. Not the food bank. Not welfare programs. Not your rich uncle that died. I don't even think I got a rich uncle. I think all my uncles were poor. And if they ain't, they ain't going to tell me they got anything anyway. But people talk about, well, if I could just win the lottery. The lottery is not my God. I'm not counting on the lottery. I think somebody did buy me a couple of lottery tickets a few years ago. I think I won $5. I had somebody I went with them to one of them little casinos one time, and they said, "I'm a surefire winner. I'll put it in there, and you'll win every time." I said, "Well, here, put it in there for me then." They lost every stinking dime. Lost all my money. I think it was like 55 cents. They lost it all. Terrible. Terrible day. But I'm telling you this morning, it's not because God needs your money. God wants to bless you so bad. God wants to pour it out on you so bad. It was kind of funny. We let out Sunday school this morning, and I heard Melvin. He was going out there. He said, "I got to go get my tithe." I said, "It's a good thing. That's what I'm preaching on today." But God says, "If you'll give it, I'll give it." Yeah. My number 6 is where the title comes from. Luke chapter 6, verse number 38. Give, and it shall be given to you. This is God talking. This is not Pastor Randy talking. This is God. And He says, give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure. My basket. Mom, the basket's full. No, it's not full. It's pressed down, shaken together, run it over. See, that's the way God does. It's not like your cereal box. I noticed the other day, bought some Pop-Tarts, and they're about half the size they used to be for twice the price. They used to fill up the cereal boxes, and now they say, well, it settles in shipment. And we don't do it by volume, we do it by weight. Well, how come 15 ounces is a whole lot less now than 15 ounces used to be? That would work great if it was my body. 250 pounds years ago, and if it's 250 pounds now, it'd be a whole lot less. It'd be a great thing. Excuse me. Given unto you, good measure, shaken, pressed together, pressed down, and shaken together and running over. Now watch the next part. Shall men give unto your bosom. God's going to use people to take care of you too. God's going to give. He says, shall men give unto your bosom. I thank God for all of the different ones through the years that have given to this ministry. Even if they didn't want to. I praise God for the ones that have given to this ministry. I thank God for the ones that have given to me personally. Y'all have given me Snickers bars. You've given me... Nobody's given me any Hershey bars with almonds yet. I'm not sure what's going on with you people. I've hinted around for the last 3 weeks.
It's not past appreciation month.
Sutherland's too. They were Sutherland's.
I know, they're real subtle hints. It was actually spelled out for you.
Wow.
But now, wait a minute. We got to get that last part in. He says, because the same measure that you measure out with is how it's going to be given back to you. You want to be stingy? Be stingy.
That's right.
You want to gripe about your offering? Gripe. Just remember, God's listening.
Amen.
You want to see that person that actually deserves it? I ain't talking about every one of these people that come up with these help me signs. I'm not talking about that. Because a lot of those, I found out in my life, most of the people that ask for help don't need help. It's those ones that don't ask for it. That's the one. Melvin and Tia never asked for a dime when we helped him out when Winston died. Hannah never asked us for a dime. That man never asked for a dime when I bought him a car to go back home with. Those people, you know, it is. I found out in my life the people that actually need help don't ask for help. When you see that, because you can tell. You walk into the grocery store line and you see that mother who's struggling with her little ones. And you see them on verse number 9, on aisle number 9. and the little kid comes up and wants it. And I'm not talking about these spoiled rotten little brats that need the devil beat out of them in the grocery store. That's not the ones I'm talking about. But I'm talking about these little kids that come up, Mama, can we get some? No, baby, we can't get that this week. I don't know how many of you remember, probably none of you, but they used to have these little 3-button clickers. And it adds up. Kathy knows what I'm talking about. It adds up your money as you spend it. And we would go around the grocery store and we'd start on the, you always start on the dairy aisle if the store's laid out right. No, produce, I'm sorry, produce is first. But we go down and we start getting stuff. And then about aisle 7 or 8 hung in there, because Rose would keep up with the clicker. If it was, $1, we'd click it in. If it was 50 cents, we'd click it in. And we'd get over there and we'd, well, what's the total, baby? Well, we got it. What is it we don't need? What is it we can put back for something we need a little bit worse? And so I know how it feels. And I didn't get up to the register and wait for them to bring it up and then say I don't have enough money. Yeah. We'd always get about aisle 9 or 10 over there and figure out what we didn't have to have.
You would always put that where it goes.
And I do. I put it back where it belongs. I don't just set the ice cream into the dry beans. I worked in the grocery store way too much for you inconsiderate hussies that put stuff back where it belongs. If you're going to put something back, put it where it belongs. We were in Costco the other day and I picked up a pack of steaks and went around the store trying to find Rose. And I said, do we want these steaks for this afternoon? She said, no, we really don't need to pay that kind of price for steak. I went all the way back across Costco, getting around all them hordes and hordes of people. It feels like in a roller derby when you go through Costco. I want to get my football pads back out just for grocery shopping. And I walked all the way back over there and I put it back in the case where it belongs. Jeez, people. God is my source. Money is just a resource. Money makes a wonderful servant, but a cruel master. When I start to depend on my money, I'm going to be hurt. I'm going to be disappointed. But if I use the money that God has given me, and I use it wisely, I'm not talking about being stupid. I'm not talking about just going on free-for-all. I'm not talking about going away and giving away all you got, unless God leads you to do that. But I'm talking about using what God has given you. Using your time, God says something to the effect of redeeming the time. You know, your time, your efforts, your energy. You know, like I said a while ago, a lot of people that should be here this morning, they're going to want blessings out of God. They put God on the back burner, but they want to be put on the front burner. They put God on simmer, but they want to be put on boil. You know, they put God on warm, and they want to be put on broil. It's just, why do we expect God to give when we want? Why should He give when we want? So this morning, as I said at the beginning, it's not a sermon on money, it's a sermon on your blessings. You say, well, preacher, I just don't see how I can do it, whether you trust God or not. Because that's what it comes down to, is trusting God. Anyway, I think I'm about done. It was a hard one. I guess that's why I put it off for 30 years. Now, when I go to a church back east and preach, first thing I tell them, I'm here for your money. I do. You can watch any of my YouTube videos that I go to another revival or mission conference or whatever. I tell them, I'm here for your money. Because I want to be able to come out here and do stuff. I'll tell them again, I'm here for your money. But it's not because I want the money. But you need the blessing.
That's right.
And I'll give you two examples. There were two churches back east that I know very well. One of the churches was having problems and they went bankrupt. But they borrowed money to keep their missionaries paid. Another church was having great financial success and they stopped their mission program and now they're bankrupt. The other church has built a brand new building on 50 acres of property and they're getting ready to build another one because they kept the missionaries on. As long as I'm pastor of this church, we will never drop our giving program. We will always give. I will do without before we stop doing our missionaries and our giving out. I have paid all of the church bills for the first few years that we were here because there wasn't any income. I've paid all kinds of stuff around this place. I still do all kinds of stuff around this place. I'm sorry because y'all are going to have to suffer the consequences of that when I'm gone. Because then you're actually going to have to pay a pastor and you're going to have to pay all these bills that I pay now. But that's okay because I'm going to keep giving. And I don't know how many of y'all are actually listening out there, but this little congregation here, and I ought to turn the camera around on them, but that'll be embarrassing and I'm going to run out if I do. But this is some of the most giving people you will ever come across in your life. Somebody will have a need in here and I'll suggest a small figure and they'll be hanging up fingers at me. And I'm not talking about giving me the finger either. I'm talking about holding up fingers of different denominations amounts. So this church loves to give. And the more we give, the more we can give. Because I ain't dependent on them. I mean, if they want to give, we'll take it. 92 Cottonwood Road, Hardin. But we'll give it away, just like we always have. And I believe that's the reason we have been blessed so much. When other churches in this town are having yard sales to make bills paid, having bake sales, we depend on God. We won't have car washes and we won't have bake sales, not to fund the church. You know, we have a car wash because we just like to wash cars. But we'll have bake sales. We'll have bake sales, but we'll probably sell it all inside the church. Especially if Luke and T are cooking, we won't get anything to sell outside the church.
They should.
Anyway, I hope you got the message of the morning. Is you need the blessings. I need the blessings. I'll never stop giving because God has proven to me time after time after time after time. The more I give, the more He gives to me. And I like to give. I'm serious, but I told God, open the windows. I'll take everything. God wants to give me something new, I'll take it. God wants to give me something used, I'll take it. You know, most every gun I have was used when I got it. Most every vehicle I get was used when I got it. But I like them. It's something I didn't have before. And I think I firmly believe it's because I have no problem giving. I give to so many different people and things that nobody else will ever know except the recipients of it. But I don't give it to be notarized. I don't give it to be set up on a pedestal or anything. I give it because I like God's blessings. And I have learned that the more I give of myself, whether it's time, effort, energy, I did not want to preach this today. The Holy Spirit wanted me to preach it, and I want to do what He wants me to do. And I'm sure glad it's over. And nobody actually walked out. Now, some of them might have turned it off, but none of you actually walked out on it. So that's a good thing. But anyway, I appreciate God's goodness, and I appreciate y'all hearing it in the right spirit. Because it's not that I'm begging for money. That's not it at all. I'm begging for your blessings. I'm begging for your abundance. I love to see you blessed. Somebody come in here and show me something new. I love it. Somebody drive in the parking lot with a 20-day tag on it, man, I just get the flutters. What did the Bambi or that skunk or somebody said? Twitter paid. I get all Twitter pated when I see you get blessed. When Kathy wrecked her stupid little ugly car. Oh, I'm so sorry for her heartbreak. But that car she got now, she gonna learn to love that car. And she ain't gonna even look at one of them little matchboxes after a while.
She's gonna walk out.
Why'd you leave that church? Because he talked about my car. Say, come here a minute, baby. Come here a minute, baby. I ain't gonna make you say nothing or nothing else. Just come here, baby. I am so proud of this little guy.
Yes.
He is terrified of his own shadow. But he asked me last week to teach him how to pray. And he come in there this morning, and I'd almost forgot it. And we started to pray, and then I remembered it. So we changed our whole Sunday school time. And we were teaching this guy how to pray. And I think maybe some of the rest of us got an idea of how to pray too. And he actually prayed out loud in front of everybody this morning in our Sunday school class. And I don't know what God's got in store for this guy, but I love this little booger. And I have watched him grow up. And I've watched him get a little more confident. He's still about to scare himself to death right here now. But I want you to know what I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of what you did last weekend and this morning. Russell, come here. This one, his teacher at school told him he couldn't pray at school no more. Him and his little red friends would pray over their food. He decided that wasn't right. And he come home and told Mama Bear. And Mama Bear made some phone calls, and I made a couple of phone calls. And now this little guy can pray anytime he wants to, and they changed the policy at school. Because of this little 8-year-old kid, he changed the policy of the school.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of our kids. Man, if we as adults could be more like our kids. Now, I'm not talking about Lauren and Gertie. Not talking about Lauren, Gertie, and Zeke. I'm not talking about those kids. Because those kids are like feral cats. Kathy didn't have any gray hair until she started teaching those.
But they're learning.
They are learning. They are learning. I watch our kids, and I'm not worried about the church of tomorrow. Because our kids have got it and are getting it. And I just appreciate you guys, because I can't do it by myself, so something had to be done with you. And I appreciate it. I should have turned the internet off, but